Started last time, we're gonna just do a quick roll call. So Jen Gaelic, Chair.
Jamie Guthrie.
Craig Boone. Eric Rooney.
Pat Ryan.
Emily Meredith Stein.
David Peckerell, Vice Chair.
Beautiful, thank you. Last time. That's okay. We will start this evening with public comment. Comments should pertain only to items listed on the agenda. There is a max of 3 minutes. Jamie, I think you volunteered to be timer, so I appreciate that. If anybody would like to make comment, please just start with your name and so that we have that as well for our minutes. Is there anybody in the public who would like to comment?
I'm behind you.
Oh, yeah. No. You can go wherever, and you can do it afterwards if
Okay.
you want, but there is a paper just so we have it for the record. So
Okay.
wherever, and you're welcome to sit wherever.
Okay, well, so I think I know if I have to. I'm Shannon Lane. I live on Miller Road. I have a fourth grader, and a sixth grader.
We
And both of my daughters are currently playing on the girls' team for Bethany Hoops, the Goddesses. Just for the record, best team ever. And I wanted to say that they've had really good experiences so far. They, I mean, they've strictly enjoyed the winning, I think.
Yeah.
But like just watching them over the past, it's been, I think, just, 4 or 5 weeks develop has been really fun to see. The one thing that I wanted to make sure that the commission is thinking about is that I've had, whenever I've had questions, I've reached out to the coach, I reached out to, people that I know on the commission. We haven't gotten, at least for the 4th to 6th grade girls, we haven't gotten any official communication around like policies. So like I know from talking to the coaches, like what kind of background checks they go through, but I haven't gotten any of that officially. And my kids have been involved in, I think, pretty much every sport you can be involved in, and that stood out to me as unusual. Typically we get a set of policies, we know what kind of training and security checks that the coaches, including parents, need to go through, we know who's gonna be involved in the team. And one of the things that I know that Bethwood baseball does that I've really appreciated is that they've given us a specific point of contact if you have any concern, right? So like Bethwood called it like a player ombudsman.
Player agent,
Yeah, and having something like that, I think, has been, that's typical in all the other sports my kids have done, and I mean, literally, like, baseball, softball, hockey, ninja, like, you name it, we've done it. And I'm comfortable with my kids in Bethany Hoops because I go to all the practices, I go to all the games, and I know the people involved. But not all the parents have that, and I would love for that to be possible going forward, so that everybody knows what's happening and what kind of protections are in place for our kids, for all of the many things we wanna make sure they're protected for.
Alright, so we have had that.
There's no participation back and forth, but you will have the
But that
opportunity
is on the.
later on the
that's
agenda
update,
to
yeah.
address that, yeah. Thank you too for signing that, I appreciate it. Is there anyone in the virtual audience who would like to have comment? See my teacher wait there. Okay, seeing none, then we are going to move on with our agenda. Item 3 on our agenda is the approval of the minutes. Emily was nice enough to share those out with everyone. So hopefully everybody had a chance to review them. We will go through one at a time. So the first minutes that we need to approve are back from November 19th. It was a regular meeting. May I have a motion to approve the November 19th meeting minutes? So may I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Second set of minutes was from our January 8th, 2025 special meeting. May I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. And then last but not least, January 15th, 2025, another special meeting. May I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion.
Thank you. Any second?
Second.
Beautiful. Any discussion?
I wonder if we could, add a note about the tour that we did right before it,
Yeah, I don't have any issues with that.
like who was there.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay.
Where exactly would that go, as it wasn't within the
It was
agenda?
an item. Cause that's why the meeting kind of started. A
A
couple
little bit
minutes late
late.
too, cause
Yeah,
we got there a little.
okay,
Cause of that.
so we could add a,
7:12,
Right.
add a statement in that section stating that these three members of the commission did a tour
Mhm.
of the annex building with Don Shay. Okay, I can add that.
That would be perfect. Thank you. Great idea. Thanks, Sarah. So can I have a revised motion to approve the January 15 minutes with the amended item about the three members who were able to participate in the tour with Mr. Shea?
Someone.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Beautiful. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Carries unanimously. Okay, item 4 is discussion and possible action on Bethany hoops. Craig, you were gonna give us a little update.
Yeah, so 4th through 6th grade begin in December. Kindergarten through 3rd began in January. We've had 3 weeks of games so far. The girls' team, Shannon said, is playing in the Orange Rec League. They had a spot open and it worked out perfectly. They could get us in. Our girls are 2-1, the Goddesses. They've got 14 girls on the team, which is a bit much to manage, but they seem to be enjoying it and, getting everybody equal playing time. So we had 13 coaches so far. We've completed DCF mandated reporter training, fingerprinting, and background checks through Troop I. As you see in the minutes that were just approved from November 19th, the policies and procedures were finalized. But we did not disseminate them because we were waiting on the final approval from the town attorney, which we, I don't know.
We did finally get, red line from him, just January 12th. He indicated, in the correspondence with me that I don't know, they switched email servers or something, and that all of the town's emails were going to his junk folder. I did hear that from, I think it was the finance director as well, that they were running into that issue. So he didn't apparently have them in his possession. But he did send, some suggested red lines, so we can, certainly look at those together as well. But yes.
So yeah, those policies, the kindergarten through first program is 29 players, which is, max registration. They're sponsored by Surrey School. 2nd and 3rd grade has 25 players, again at max, sponsored by Cheshire Coffee. 4th through 6th girls, again, 14 players, sponsored by AT Sangha Yoga. And then the 4th through 6th boys, there's 40 players, 4 teams, New Insight Family Eye Care, George Hart Infinity, Harding Consulting, and Paulico Francesco are the team sponsors. Adding up for a total revenue of $16,270. And the anticipated expenses, we just incurred one that we were told we weren't going to incur, about security guards on Saturdays at the middle school, which is costing us $3,000 that we were told we wouldn't have to, but we're still, despite that, only anticipated expenses are $15,400, so almost a net profit of almost $1,000, which is again a huge improvement from last year's, at least financially.
Right.
And we have over 100 players who are participating through all the levels, so Bethany Hoop's going well so far, even though our team is 0-3, so.
Other boys.
Yeah, my boys.
And the total anticipated expense of 15,400,
Yeah,
you said that's including the,
yeah,
security, I
we
guess?
got
'Cause I
a,
don't see it listed, so.
yeah, facility cost there.
Yeah.
Oh, it's under
Under
facility.
AMSC,
Okay, sorry.
yeah.
Did they indicate, I know when you first reached out, they said that, we wouldn't need security at all, right?
Right,
But then they added it for the evenings and now they've added,
not for the evenings, I think they're there,
like their
always,
normal
like,
shift, okay,
yes.
got it.
Yeah,
yeah,
somebody
cause the
has to
school's
be
open
there.
until
Okay.
9 or whatever, 9:30 maybe.
Okay,
So it's really only the Saturdays.
got it, where we had the added expense.
Yes,
Okay. How much of it was just the security guard?
it's $50 an hour, we're there from 9:30 until 2:30 on Saturdays
Okay,
for
so they staff at that time.
12 weeks or so.
Okay,
Yeah,
got it. So we'll know for next year, assuming that that's new policy.
yeah, and they said last year they didn't charge it, I guess it was an oversight, but, that's a $3,000 difference. So
Right. We'll have to,
The sponsorship helped, without the sponsorships, we'd be in the red, so, all those people who stepped up, we really thank them and.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's really fantastic.
yeah.
They're not planning to submit an invoice, are they? For last year?
Oh.
Yeah, you know.
Statute of
No, you
limitations
can't go
might
back
be
on
up
that.
on that.
Not in the board, it's a school, so you can't do it, their budget's already closed for that.
Okay,
You can't back, they're not gonna back charge on that.
okay.
When's the end of the Bethany Hoops program?
The K1 and second, and third will end March, the middle of March, I forget what the Saturdays, I know. I think it's the 11th. And the 4th through 6th grade girls, that championship game, hopefully they make it, is on March 15th. And then the playoffs begin for the boys on March 15th, so the whole point is to get done before April, before baseball and lacrosse and all the other things start, so we're gonna be done before the end of April.
Because of the space. We don't have the space anymore.
Well, we can still use it on weeknights, so that's what we might transition to. We play games on Saturdays now. And then once all the other programs are done, then we could, play games on Mondays and Tuesdays and save the time or save the money and then. Get it done in a quicker time span. So that's what we're doing.
Perfect. Does anyone have any questions?
Did we have like a parent meeting with parents? To talk about some of the policies that were put, like, that we were trying to put. in
Yeah, I
place,
met
like,
with the
Okay.
4th through 6th grade boys and then whatever girls' parents were at the first practice.
I know we talked about that, so I just wanted to make sure that was
Yeah.
there.
Everybody was on
Yeah.
board, everybody was,
Yeah. Got it.
good to go.
I think now that we
Yeah.
know that the attorney had
Right,
thoughts.
Yes.
Now, do we have a revised goal for when we can finalize that?
yeah, I mean, I'll share it with everybody now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I make 7. So there was no edits to the parent guardian spectator code of conduct. That was fine, as was. The player code of conduct, his suggestion was, and I just sent it to you guys in an email for those of you who have the ability to open it. Under health and safety, his edit was to add, that the kids deserve to play in an environment free of drugs, tobacco, alcohol, and promise not to use drugs, tobacco, or alcohol, and expect adults to refrain from use at all youth sporting events. I mean,
Yeah.
And then he added a section on discipline. We had that in the policy, but not in the kind of like sport player code of conduct piece. So there, his suggested edit was, I agree that if I have failed to abide by the aforementioned rules and guidelines, I will be subject to disciplinary action levied by the town of Bethany's Park and Rec Department that could include, but is not limited to, the following: a verbal warning, a written warning, suspension for 1 or more games, a season suspension, and permanent disbarment from Park and Rec Department programs. And then he had one edit at the bottom. So I, and then the child's name, agree to follow the code of conduct. I understand that failing to meet these expectations may result in discipline as stated above. And he removed temporary or permanent removal from practices, games, or the team, because those things are outlined in the discipline section above. I find the language under the discipline section to not necessarily be in line with the age of the kids that this is intended to be for.
I was kind of thinking that as you said that, but.
you know, I think that it could be written in more child-friendly language. This is intended for kids who are up to sixth grade, so 12. That's just a lot of language. Um, I think we could just say like, I agree that if I don't follow the rules,
Yeah,
you know, I will be subject to disciplinary action.
Must the parents sign the form also?
So, yes, parents must
That's why
also
I
sign
think the
it.
language is
Yeah.
because then the parent will
And-
explain it to
yeah,
the
that's the
child.
expectations that the parents, and I
Right,
didn't want
they
them to sign it that night, take it home.
Yeah,
and talk
Right,
about
review it
and then-
together.
Exactly.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think like typically they're still written in a little bit more of like child-friendly language with the understanding, yes, that parents of course are gonna have to review it with kids and help them to understand it.
But he's making it clear to the parents also.
Correct, yes, correct.
Yeah.
So. I don't know if people want additional time to review it. We can certainly revisit it at our next meeting. Or we can make a motion to approve the changes as kind of suggested by Attorney Marino. And then we can vote to approve it so that this particular document is done.
Yeah,
I mean, I think we're good, you know,
Yeah.
if he's the attorney, so if he's
Yeah.
making the recommendation.
Yeah, and
I
I mean,
agree, it makes more sense to be more child friendly, but
right. I mean, there's nothing that's different from this than really what we suggested. He
Right.
just outlines the disciplinary section
Mhm.
a little bit further.
Or
And in the doc,
under the policies, is there anything?
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I'm looking at it right now. I don't see very much. I see like
There's just the
two
beginning,
things
just
of
the
red.
beginning. Just
The
like that.
complaint procedure, he added one thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we should go kind of like,
One by one.
yeah,
Mhm,
so like document by document.
mhm.
So can I make a motion that we do that now, even though it
Yeah.
may take some time, but just
Yep.
the sooner we have this finalized, the
Yep.
better.
So, and we get a motion for the player code of conduct to,
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Since those all kind of fall under the policies, like there's
Yep.
links, there's hyperlinks in there.
Yep.
Like, can we just have a blanket? You know,
a blanket approval.
yes,
Yeah, could, because it's policies and that's what we're reviewing, just make the
Yeah.
motion to accept the policies, but before we do that,
go through each
Go
of them.
through.
Yep. So the
cause we did those ones. right?
Yep, so the coach code of conduct one, again, there's just one edit.
Mhm.
Under prioritizing health and safety, just specifying that any injuries would be reported to the supervising employee as well as the player's parent or guardian. Any questions or thoughts on that?
No.
That seems good.
So then that brings us to like the larger
Mhm.
policy and procedure book. God bless you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. He added a program statement at the very beginning with like just an administrative blurb. Individuals who participate in the program do so with the knowledge that all participants must comply with policies and procedures established by Park and Rec Commission or the department. And that we will organize the program, assign referees, prepare and release publicity, and in general, conduct the business of the program. Under the section about background checks and screening, we had said that DCF and criminal background checks would be required for all coaches and volunteers age 18. He also just added referees and employees. Which I think, considering that, you know, hopefully this program will continue past this year and hopefully we will at some point actually have some employees. It probably makes sense to expand that language. We were
Makes
probably
sense.
a little bit more narrow. Records of background checks must be turned in and approved prior to the date that anyone interacts with minors. That was done this year. Records of background checks shall be maintained by the town in a file that is specific to the person named in the background check, such as an employment file. And then if a person is not willing to take a background check, he or she will not be able to volunteer, coach, referee, or work in our program. We hadn't explicitly stated that, though that had been the practice, as you know, because you interacted with someone who said that they would try to get to it. And you're like, yeah, well, you gotta do it before you're gonna participate. God bless you. So that had been our practice. And then he added a bullet about if a person has been convicted, they would therefore be ineligible. So just kind of outlines.
Did he
that
list
piece.
specifically or just any criminal
See it?
conviction?
Yeah, so it
No,
says,
specific.
a person is ineligible if he or she has been convicted, including crimes whereby a
Yep. Oh,
plea
yeah.
of no contest was entered.
Okay,
Yeah. And then,
So he outlined all of the,
Yes, it does, it's nice coverage.
yeah.
Mhm.
Any questions or thoughts there?
Mhm.
I think they had put something about alcohol and drugs.
Behavior management policy stood,
that's in a separate policy.
Yeah.
I do think we mentioned it in the
Right.
code of conduct.
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
right. So he added a section on alcohol and drugs, just specifying that they're not permitted at park and rec
Mhm.
activities, and that coaches or other volunteers can't participate while under the influence. He added a section on attire. We hadn't included anything about that, but just making, it just says that they're required to dress appropriately. Under cancellations, he added a bullet just that we reserve the right to cancel a program, class, or activity if there's not a minimum number of participants 7 days prior to first scheduled session. And then he tweaked the language about inclement weather. So when school is in session, we'll follow Amity School District cancellations.
Mhm.
Code of conduct, nothing except those edits that we already discussed in some of the specific links.
Mhm.
No changes to drop off and pickup procedures. Under the complaint procedure, we had the Park and Rec Commission Chair listed, and he suggested that we also add or the Office of the First Selectman.
Mhm.
No edits to emergency preparedness, first aid CPR, nothing for incidents and accidents, nothing for lost and found, medical emergencies, medical needs. Minor protection was fine, missing child was fine, parent guardian contact was fine. Photographs, property damage, refunds, registration, all fine. Overall,
Mhm.
Mhm.
pretty good job.
Very good job.
it was.
Very good job.
So. And I have a motion to accept the Bethany Hoops policies and procedures, including the coach code of conduct, the player code of conduct, and the parent guardian spectator code of conduct as revised by Attorney Marino.
So moved.
Mhm.
Second,
Second it.
discussion.
Are we gonna, can we post these now somewhere? Like, is it in my, like, does it go on my rec? Where does it go? Where does it go on our the website?
The final version, right?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
but yeah, like approving them as they are, but what I'm saying is like, will they go up?
Yeah, so I will send them
Send me a
to,
final,
Yeah.
version, I have everybody's email comprehensive
Excellent.
file, so send it out to everybody's participation.
and then I will also send them to someone at the town
Yeah.
to have them put on the website.
Send it to the town clerk maybe and.
Yeah, either him or Jen Capasso or Leslie has access to like
Okay,
posting
perfect.
too. So we'll get those all posted and then blast out to families. Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second.
Mhm.
We had a little discussion.
Yep.
Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. I will get those to you tonight. Okay. Number 5, discussion and possible action on budget. So Leslie sent everybody the draft, the first draft of the budget, on the 3rd. Yes, 13th. I spoke with her last week just to get a little bit of clarity. So what we need to do is review the hourly rates that she put in. There are 2 different ones, for counselors because minimum wage is going to change like mid-year. So you will note that there were 2 different items or 2 different lines listed for that. We had shared with her the information, I think Jamie, that you got when you attended that training session from Connecticut Rec and Park,
Right,
right? But she hadn't she did this before that came out.
Right,
So if we want to make any adjustments based off of the training that you attended and the salary schedule, we can look at that. So we need to review the hourly rates and the wages there. Then, we need to set some proposed pricing for things that might open if we're able to move forward and hire a director. So we would need to get some pricing together for summer camp if it opened, for any specialty programming that we might consider offering, over the next year.
so in regards to that.
Yep.
There's a couple things, I had emailed Leslie, this week, because there's questions I have before we can go ahead and really look at what the summer camp price could be.
Mhm.
We really need to kind of know like what the overall expenditures are, and how many kids we're looking at having, and then kind of look at what the pricing would be. And then I also said, is there grants or additional funding that the state does provide for towns that have summer camp, because that would factor into like how we're making the cost of this.
Right.
There also was a question that a lot of the directors at Parks and Recs that were on this, because I think I was probably the only commission member that was on there. But they were talking about the new law that's gone into play about the 30-minute duty-free lunch. And how in the past, if counselors have worked over 7.5 hours, they were eating lunch with the kids. Well, you can't technically do that by law, and so they're trying to figure out if that fits in. And then what they were trying to talk about is how you have those lunches covered, because technically they are not supposed to be with kids having lunch. If they choose to, it's kind of a gray area, and they were going back and forth trying to get some answers on that. So hopefully maybe at the next meeting we'll have that, but that again would factor into how we're doing positions for kids. Like if you're doing, if it's like a 8 o'clock drop off and those kids are doing extended day, like you could have them leave like at the 7 hour,
Right.
piece of things and whatnot. So that would kind of factor in. And I think that's a kind of more minor detail. It would just be about a scheduling piece of things, but it's definitely something that could factor in to however many employees we have. If they're working 7.5 hours, they have
Right.
to have that 30-minute built in.
Duty free lunch, okay.
Yeah,
So the lunch comes in at 7.5 hours?
7.5. So they're trying to figure that out, because they're trying to see, like the directors were just not sure. How it actually worked, and people had different interpretations of that law.
Okay.
So they were trying to like figure that out. So that was one of the questions that was put out for the group that was really talked about. And then it was a lot about orientation and so that factors into like, what does the orientation look like, or what has the orientation looked like in the past, and are we paying? And then paying the staff for when they come in for orientation, how that factors into. So I don't know if we did that like in the budget. So there's just a couple of things that I had asked Leslie about, to just try to figure how we can make this as cost effective, but are there things that we're missing that we could potentially have?
Okay, so you emailed her those, you
yeah.
didn't get a response yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
But
Those are
it's-
good things to know,
Yeah,
though,
but
right?
it was Tuesday that I emailed her, it's only Wednesday now, she's busy
Right.
with budget, so, and I said it might be easier for her and I to just actually meet and talk, as opposed to like doing it through an email.
Right.
It's a lot.
We need to figure out the lunch, we need to figure out paid training.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I think that I am struggling with this task because I've got answers to that. I've run programs before, I've run budgets before. We all have like amazing expertise, and yet none of us are gonna be doing this.
Mhm.
So this feels very theoretical and
Mhm.
only came up to us because it's the cycle of the town's government. And they asked us to do a big theoretical draft of a budget. And so we're thinking, what might happen? What might we do? What might a director do when one is in place? And so I can't get stuck in those weeds yet. So
But this is what a director would be doing, and that's where the problem is with us not having a director, is that this is budget time and this is budget planning, so like. That's the hard part, and that's how we do it for the next year at schools too. It's like you're budgeting based on
Of course.
on projection, and so it's hard, and it is hard, I agree with you. But I feel like to even come up with even a close number. We have to kind of like look at how many people are we gonna let, are we gonna have in, like what are like, cause when I was looking at other towns, they do cap certain ones at certain
Yeah.
numbers, and then it's like, some towns were significantly higher than other towns, but is there like sometimes I've heard of schools providing, like the school districts providing certain kind of like funding back because there's certain grants that the schools get. So that's the stuff we don't know, that if we had a director, it would be great
Yeah.
to know. And these are the pieces that are gonna cause us to have, we are doing a lot more work to try and figure, like, it's kind of like we're doing the director work, you know, unfortunately.
So at some level, can we
Yeah.
just make an assumption on certain things? Like if we say,
Yeah.
hey, we're capping it at this.
Yeah,
Why don't we just do this since it's needed to be done on kind of a worst case
Yeah,
scenario?
but that's what, like, we need the numbers from Leslie, like, for that, and like, you know, to sit there, more than just like a salary, we're like, okay, so what are there other expenditures that we don't know about,
Happened
to come
last
up with this come up with this random number, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think based off of my conversation with her, the ideas for revenue,
Mhm.
so like what we would charge for summer camp, if
Mhm.
we were to open before and after care at some point, the fees associated with that, the fees for any special programs are at this point estimates.
Mhm.
Because, you know, we could discuss opening a chess club for children and
Mhm.
adults
Mhm.
and charge, you know, I mean, I did some research on that one in particular, you know, and it is a wide gamut of
Mhm.
pricing. But charge $140 per participant. But then we could not run that, right, if there's not enough interest in
Yeah.
it. So they're really, I think, just kind of like
Yeah.
hypotheticals to some extent. I do agree, Emily, completely with you about, right, this does seem all very
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
hypothetical because
Mhm.
we don't 100% know. But I think that we need to give kind of our
I think your best guess.
yes.
Well, can we just go back past 4 or 5 years or whatever?
That was the.
2 weeks ago, that was the
Yeah,
question.
and
She said no.
Yeah, and I
And-
think
and
the public was also saying that the town subsidized a huge part of the camp in the past years, maybe not last year,
Yeah.
like, but in the past, well. So,
But I thought,
that's where I think I don't wanna propose a number. That's not realistic, that's gonna keep this program in the red, because that's not. Conducive either.
I mean, if it was somewhat funded by the town in the past, I mean, are now we saying it has to be 100% self-funded? There's not really.
We don't know, but also like, I think there was people that didn't pay, right?
That was a big
And that became that is where like, so is that why it was, like, it had to be subsidized by the town, because we had a large amount of people that we didn't know who were paying and who weren't paying before last year, you know, so I don't know, so I do think there's a little more questions, I think this is like definitely a huge chunk to be like diving into,
I think, so to my personal feeling is that ultimately it should be self-funding. I don't think that we should be asking the town
Yeah.
to pay for summer camp for anybody's children.
Mhm.
I think that if, you know, if it needs to, the cost per student per week needs to
Mhm.
cover the cost for the staff that's working there.
Right,
I
think-
don't think that, to me, the director's salary, like any kind of like
Mhm.
admin level is separate, cause they do more for the park and rec department for the town than just run before and after care and summer camp.
And we're not paying
In-
rental fees either for
Correct.
facilities.
Right.
Which-
Right. So I think, to me, right, we had talked about our numbers all based off of, I believe we said 100 children,
Mhm.
right? Cause that was kind of the estimate that they had in the very limited records that they had. So I think we would need to look at the cost for the staff
Mhm.
for 100 children divided by however many weeks
So we
they're.
said 2 to 15 ratio of 2
Right,
staff to
yeah.
15 kids.
Mhm. And that would probably give us our price point per week. And that's something that we're proposing right now. I don't think that that needs to be set in stone,
Right.
because if we have the opportunity to hire a director, we would want them to weigh in on things.
Right.
And we wouldn't need to set the final price point.
I think it's a good estimate.
Mhm.
That makes
Right.
sense.
Mhm.
Right.
100 kids, 2 to,
Right.
2 to 15 ratio.
And then before and after.
Yeah.
Throwing that piece in.
Right. You mean before and after school care, if that opens again?
No,
Or before and after for the summer
for
camp.
summer camp like they had done before.
Yep. Yep. Okay. So we need to obviously have a little bit more conversation, try to figure those pieces out. There is a budget meeting before the finance department, finance commission, board of finance, on January 30th at 6:30, that since we don't have a director, they want us, some of us, all of us, whoever can make it, to come to talk about our budget proposals. So I will be there as chair. But if anyone else is available on the 30th and you wanna do another Park and Rec meeting, it's a Thursday, yeah.
It's next Thursday.
Yeah, it's the night after the town hearing.
I have a question too, and this might be a question we asked in the finance meeting. Do the directors typically set the price, like, on their own, do they typically set the price of summer camp, or is that something they do with the finance department?
That's a really.
Because it does, like,
Right.
you know,
I mean, I would think it might be part of their budgeting process.
I would think that's part of the budget process.
Right.
yeah. yeah,
I mean,
they
right,
can,
I mean, it
'Cause,
makes
like,
sense
you know,
I
logically.
mean, they might have to get like 500.
Yeah.
From them.
Yeah,
What time is that meeting?
6:30. So they have like a ton of budget meetings, like the
Mhm.
library.
Mhm.
It's basically all of the department head town employees going, and then the Park and Rec Commission, because we don't have a director. Okay. So for purposes of this evening, so we need to review the hourly rates that Leslie included. Jamie, do you have access to that document with the rates that you got from that workshop? Just so that we can look at that piece of it. I know, sorry.
it's so confusing.
Okay, while you're looking for that. There were a couple of other pieces of research that different commission members did into both camps. A lot of those prices are not set yet. Cause it's, I mean, some camps have started to put information out, but I do think that, traditionally, like the town programs come a little bit later. So the ones that we have pricing for are Stamford and Colchester. We could look at their pricing, but I personally kind of think it makes more sense to look at what our overall cost is for staff
Mhm.
and then break it down per student.
What would the regular day be? The regular program not included, the extended,
Drop off is
9
9
to
to 3, I think 3:30.
Is it 3:30?
so that extended would be 8 to 9 and then 3 to 6.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Or was it 6 in the summer? I can't remember.
It was,
Was it?
yeah, I think
Okay.
it could go up to 6. Was it 3? It may have been 9 to 3, now that I think about it.
I feel like it was 3.
It might have been 3.
It'd be easier to math that too, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, no, you're right.
What's the hourly gonna be at that point?
Say that again?
What's the minimum wage gonna be at that point?
So,
When does it go? It goes up in, not till
January
September?
1st.
I thought they
We're gonna
usually went up in December or September, October. They're going up $1 like every year.
I believe that it is 16.35 an hour.
January 1st, 16:35 an hour.
So they have what they're paid, like, so the sheet that I shared is what their 2024 rate and then what their proposed rate for each position was. So for 2025, there's a few towns that have put it in, and obviously they have camp director
Mhm.
prices, but I don't think we want that, correct? I mean, like,
So we did have. So we had like counselor,
mhm,
and then we had head counselors,
mhm.
and then we had a program coordinator.
Okay, so so. If we're looking at like certain towns, right, so Bolton, their camp director at $19 an hour, if their proposed rates are $19 an hour. $18 for an assistant director, camp counselor is $17.20. They don't, have junior counselors, and their counselors in training are volunteers. And that's one thing that they did talk about, is not charging, sometimes places charge counselor in training. But then if you do special events or something like that, they've ran into problems with people that are saying that, well, they're watching kids and maybe can't participate in a special event, so you shouldn't actually like charge them for CIT, like for CITs.
Yeah.
And then, so for instance, like Bolton's camp is ages 3 to 12, it's only 8 weeks, it's 9:30 to 3:30, and residents, it's $200 a week, non-residents is $240 a week, so that's something to decide too, if it would just be
Right.
for residents or not. Then you have Bristol, they're at the like 22 to $24 an hour for the camp director, assistant is 20 to 21, and their camp counselors are $16.75 to $17.95. And then they have a camp nurse that's $45 to $80 an hour budget, like 45 to 50, sorry. And then they also have sometimes they have para support, but their camp is 7 weeks, only grades 1 through 7, 9 to 3, and it's $125. But again, that's Bristol, so it's a larger town. So I think like, if we're looking at like the smaller towns, like, I don't know, like, I'm trying to think off my head, like East Haddam is small, right?
Mhm.
They're $23 to $27 an hour for a camp director, $22.50 for an assistant director. They have a camp specialist, which is $21 an hour, and their camp counselors are anywhere from $16.50 to $18.50. And they only do 6 weeks, so it's very interesting, because I think from the research I did, and Emily, you probably saw this too, we do the longest
Mhm.
summer camp, because we pretty much do like the whole
Yeah.
entire summer.
Yeah.
Which is typically not really
Mhm.
done in any of the other places I
Right.
was seeing.
Part
But-
of that is because we have a separate
Yeah.
facility
Yeah.
where most of these are
They're
run
using
out of
the school.
schools, and
Yeah.
then the schools need to be
Yeah.
cleaned.
So I was kind of not really necessarily looking at like the weeks, but 8 to 3, and they charge $180 a week, and then they do field trips are an additional fee for
Right.
going on field trips, which we're not even talking about doing
Right.
this year at this point. Ellington is another one that's probably close to us, right? Size, is Ellington small?
Just Ellington's small.
Ellington's small, right?
Yeah.
$23 an hour they pay their camp director, $19.75 to the assistant director, $16.35 seems to be
Cause that's
a
not.
lot of places, yeah, exactly, that's what they pay their year one. If they're 2 or 3, they get they're gonna give them 17, and they pay $249 a week, and they give 8 weeks from 8:30 to 3:30.
Okay.
Oh, no, sorry, $215 a week, $215 a week in Ellington, I was looking at Farmington for that one, 8 weeks, 8:30 to 4.
Okay. So if we went minimum wage for the counselors, $16.35.
That's what it seems to really be, what people are. Really seem to be $16.50, I think some people, are starting it there.
And what's the average for the head counselors? 'Cause we have 1950,
For head counselors or just camp counselors?
it just says
Head
head
counselors.
counselors, that's what it's. on
Are we
our sheet.
considering that like regular count, like,
No, so we had
so.
16 counselors, we had 3 head
So
counselors.
that might be a camp specialist program instructors, how they have it here.
Yeah.
That can range anywhere from $18 to $25.
Okay, so that's
So,
average,
yeah.
1950, that's good.
And then we had the program coordinator, although this I'm confused about, because she has program coordinator and then it says 8.
Yeah,
Would program coordinator be the assistant director? We have camp director on there?
No, I think we
Yeah,
had
so-
program coordinator, and it was
So me-
$25 an hour,
So maybe that would be considered on here like a camp director.
right?
And how much is that?
That one can range on here, it seems the lowest is $21. Or no, sorry, the lowest is 19, that's Bolton, and the highest is 27.
So that's
Okay,
average.
so we're in
Yeah,
there.
that's
Yeah.
good. Yeah,
Was there anyone else who had nursing?
yeah.
Nursing, yes, so West Haven has nursing,
What's their,
1850.
Wow, that's
Must
low.
be a CN, like, I'm wondering if it's a,
Maybe
like
CNA,
CNA,
maybe.
yeah, I know. But Vernon has one for 50. New Britain is 1650 to 19, so I wonder if it's more of like an LPN or like,
Right.
you know, a CNA,
we have 35.
Bristol does not, yeah, nobody else has filled it in out
Okay.
of all the towns that are in here, so.
Okay.
Yeah, nobody else has nurse. Cause like Bristol's 45 to 50.
Mhm.
Okay, so.
I think 35 is reasonable.
For a nurse,
Yeah, compared to the other,
right?
which was what, 50?
Yeah, 50s.
Yeah. And then I think it depends on like what you're, you know, if, because you don't need an R necessarily.
Right, we don't
you need
necessarily need an
RN.
Right.
Right,
And we had discussed the fact that the nurse would only be available during the regular
The
day,
regular
9
hours.
to 3, but
Mhm.
making that kind of clear to families that
Right.
there would be no nurse
Right.
on staff. The other, the program coordinator, like the kind of summer camp director, and all of the, like, they are all gonna have to be first aid,
Right.
CPR, AED
Right.
certified anyway.
Mhm.
So certainly they would be able to kind of
Mhm.
handle,
Right,
it's, things like that, even if
Right.
there was not a nurse on site.
In my research for the extended program, day program, I found that quite a few, well, a couple, the YMCA and the Treehouse that I examined. They have a nurse that administers medication, and of course, the parents have to complete the form,
Right.
medication. Is this nurse going to be able to do that, or is that a no-go for this, any of the programs?
No, so I think that the summer camp nurse would have to be like med certified, like able
Yeah.
to do that.
Mhm.
Like for kids who need inhalers, have
Mhm.
EpiPens.
So I think that's the big difference if we have a nurse versus anything for an emergency. I mean, we really could just hire an EMT,
Right.
but you
Mhm.
can't administer medication, so
Yeah.
that's kind of the purpose of having
Right,
a nurse.
correct,
to
because
do
they
it.
would need to be able to.
And normally I think it has, I mean, I guess maybe an LPN could do it, but normally it's an RN for
Mhm.
any kind of med administration, but that'd be the reason why I think you go with a nurse versus just
Or
hire
it
an
could just be med
EMT.
certified.
Right,
You could be
because
med
then
certified, like
every-
I can give meds as
I'm med
a certified,
Mhm.
you know, certified
Would it
staff
hurt
as
to
well.
increase it to 50 because of an RN, and if we can find someone for 35?
I keep it as low as possible.
I think I would because,
I would rather over budget and
Yeah.
then come in.
maybe
Yes.
maybe say 45, I mean, I don't,
I mean, we wanna hire someone at 35.
yeah,
Right,
yeah.
But if we can't find somebody,
That's correct.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, because we're just like, if it's,
right,
we don't wanna say we wanna, do without a nurse or
right,
overspend. Mhm.
okay.
It's just a thought, just thinking.
I mean, I don't know what the going
I
hourly
don't
rate is
know.
for a nurse,
um,
but. I mean, if we have a couple that are up to 50, it might not be a bad idea.
Yeah.
Okay. So. Yeah, so we had counselors at minimum wage, head counselors at 1950.
Mhm.
Then we had accounted for. Before counselor, 2 hours a day,
Yeah, that's is that the extended?
but that's just 1 hour a day. Right, it's just 8 to 9.
Mhm.
Are we
Wasn't it something
assuming
like
they're
7:30?
staying for 2 hours? I'm confused with this, like the hours that they're working, 2 hours a day versus.
So that would be like the before camp. In the
Is it 2
morning.
hours because it'd be 2 counselors?
Probably,
Oh,
Well, she's got quantity
Oh.
3.
Okay.
but also the
Family.
smartest staffing would be to stagger full-time people rather than try to hire part-time people. for-
Oh, absolutely, right.
So like,
Yeah.
2 shifts, people that start at 8 and go till 3, and people
Mhm.
that start at 9 and go till 5. or
Take
whatever.
that mental health with that.
Right,
With the lunch break, exactly,
yes,
yeah.
absolutely. And then the after counselors are for 3 hours, which matches the 3 to 6. For after. But then she also has after counselors 2 hours a day.
That's all just campers, not the before and after we were talking about for.
This is on summer camp.
Oh,
Why are they separate? One says 3 hours per day and the other says 2 hours per day after council.
Not sure, but I will put
Yeah.
together a list of questions for Leslie. She wasn't able to join us tonight.
That's a thing here.
Maybe she's just laying out what the cost would be if we chose one of those.
Maybe.
Right.
Oh, head counselor. Oh, she said.
oh, because it's a head count, go
Head
ahead, still be there,
Yeah,
okay.
head counselor, right? And then, but I don't understand this actor here, these 2 actors.
Yeah, I don't know why there's an after counselor 3 hours, after counselor 2 hours, and then after, I mean, the head counselor makes sense. Okay, um. Okay, so we only really need the before counselor to be for an hour.
Mhm.
Maybe even 1.5, because they need to be here before kids.
Yeah,
set
they,
up.
something, yeah, they don't want them walking in and unlocking the doors.
Right, so we could say like 1.5, so right, like their day would start at 7:30. So
Yeah.
that they're on site and able to open the building, and then similarly. I mean, they can't end at 6 and then like lock the door and
7:45.
leave, so it would also be a little bit after. Okay. I will get clarification. From her about that. And then we
Total
increase
side
the nurse.
comment, I guess, but do we have a cleaning crew that has to be budgeted in? here?
I am not sure.
Hmm.
I don't know. Did Don say how that building is cleaned?
Oh, maybe it's, well,
I
it's
was gonna say,
not
we-
right now. Maybe it's his department, maybe it's the.
Right.
Public
Or
Works Department.
facility, like if there are facilities, per custodian here, there's a
It
custodian here.
must be, right?
Yeah, I don't know if there'd be a separate
Yeah.
one. It's not like the Board of Edwards is a separate entity.
Yeah.
It's town property.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Mm.
But we should find that out. And like, what is the expectation for counselors to,
Right, right, that's why I thought of it.
right, okay, I'll ask her about that.
Mhm.
Okay, so if we kept all of the salaries as is on here. Who wants to do the math
That's the total.
for, the daily budget, weekly budget? First spreadsheet.
and that what she has at the end, so that's we're keeping it what she's going with there, correct? Is that what we're saying?
But that's, that third column, you mean?
Yeah,
But it's not weekly times 10, is
Well, so
it?
that's, yeah, I think, yes,
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Weekly times 10, so that is, she did project it
yeah,
out.
so I
Right.
think she did.
Sorry.
So we can just add that column up, I believe, correct?
It's up at the top totaled,
Yeah.
Oh, you're right.
148.
totally missed that.
295.
Thank you for saying that
148,
line at the
295.
top.
And that's for 10 weeks.
Mhm.
That's for 10 weeks, so
Yeah,
that's
148.
148.95 divided by, I'm just saying like in my head, like 100 campers,
So that would be
1482, like.
15, 13.
That's with nothing else, like nothing else in the budget, like added, just.
So what are we
Just
coming up with?
staffing. Yeah, but
15.
staffing is always the biggest.
So that's actually pretty good because last year,
That'd be.
I found
so,
last year's.
Just to cover
Yeah.
expenses of that would be 150 a week, like 148 something.
That's not bad,
No,
because last
just
year's
put
was
another
250 a
100 on
week.
Another 100 on there, you might be, like, it might be,
Last year was 250 a week
250.
if you did the weeklies. I
Yeah.
found it. That's what I was looking
Yeah.
at before. And it was 21.25 because you got a discount if you did it in its entirety.
Mhm.
And then in addition to that, there was like percentages. So if you paid by a certain date, I
Right.
think it was
you got a
10%
discount,
less.
Yeah.
right.
So I know I always like rushed to check down to get
There's
10%
sibling
off.
discounts too, right?
There
So
were
then
sibling discounts as well.
all those discounts come off of them.
Right.
So basically with those numbers, I mean, we basically run it for,
250. I wouldn't do less than 250 because you have to do,
Yeah.
like,
I mean, you'd be sticking,
like, how many other expenses do we have in there?
right, but we could at least
Yeah.
stick to, if we stuck to last year's
Mhm.
payment schedule, we
Mhm.
really could actually accomplish what we're looking to do.
Yeah,
Right. So the other thing is like, there's the page for the lifeguards.
Yeah. And we're
Now-
gonna need to make sure we have some highly qualified lifeguards, especially after this
I,
weekend when I saw kids drown.
I would be,
And Bethany.
I don't know,
Yeah.
I feel like that lake is usually like either shut down or like on the verge of. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
I hate
we're-
when my kids swim in that thing.
Oh, they're in it a lot though, in the summer.
Yeah, but then like
Any-
every other week it's shut down. 'cause
Right,
of
any
UVHD.
Friday that it's open,
Mhm.
they're there.
We have to plan that it's every Friday for
But
the
so
whole, are
the-
they there like extended and before too? Right, they have to be
On
out.
Fridays, they're there the whole day. Yeah. I
they
guess
can
my
have it.
question though is, because they have lifeguards there, not just on Friday and
Yeah.
the campus there. Right? Like they have a lifeguard
Oh.
there all
Yes.
summer.
Oh, yeah,
Right?
so
Just weekends or all summer?
that's a
It was-
good
I think
question.
it was some
No.
weekdays also.
Like maybe holiday weekends?
There's
So
no
I'm just
summer
not sure
campus
if
there,
the
there was
cost
not.
of the lifeguards is something that the summer camp should be covering, or if the cost of the.
I think
lifeguards-
that's part of, I think it's Park and Rec, but I think it's a different budget, I would think,
Right,
correct?
okay.
Yeah,
so
but
I'll
we don't have to worry about
confirm.
that being self-sustain, like,
Right,
Yeah, I don't
but
think we
I'll
have
ask
to-
her that.
yeah,
Does summer camp need to cover, or do we just need to cover lifeguards on Fridays?
yeah.
I'm looking at Woodbridge's summer camp.
Yeah.
9 to 12.
Yeah.
It's $300 a week for residents. And $520 a week for non-residents, so like, are we having a price difference and
We never did.
if it's not subsidized by the town, like, if they're charging $300
For a half day.
for a half day.
Mhm.
And the town is subsidizing that, I don't know, like, where's that, I don't know where the money goes, but, I mean. We're gonna beat that for double the time, I feel like.
Yeah.
So, it's better to have
There
wiggle
should- I
room,
would-
like,
I would-
you're gonna have more unanticipated
$100
expenses, and you're not gonna have any unanticipated revenue, so.
I would
Yeah,
have
you're
to keep
something.
100 for non-residents, if that's what we're doing, if we're gonna open it up to non-residents.
Yeah.
It's always been up to, it's always been
Yeah.
open to non-residents,
Yeah.
and they paid the same rate.
I don't think, yeah, but I agree, with that. I don't think they should.
No, they should,
I think it
because
should be
every other
50 or 100
program,
more.
well, the extended program for non-residents, they charge anywhere from
Yeah, like-
$75 to $100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See. What they,
What they charged.
like there's only two that posted, one was, yeah, one was 40 and one was $10 more. But again, that Bristol seemed like. I wonder if Bristol didn't really have like. Have a lot, and the other one was full and. And others just I don't have them. Posted. In here. But like, we also have to think too, are we putting a cap? Because I did see in some of the places I was looking at too, like, there was a limit on how many kids. Could be taken into a
It
camp,
should be, yeah.
because some would fill up, I think, like, isn't Orange like that too, like where people rush to get like their summer
Yes.
camp? And I think Southbury kind of it gets like that, where they release theirs actually super early, because she was saying like it fills up, but so many people wanna do different camps in Southbury for different things, so they kind of try to get their schedules like ahead of time. For what they're gonna do before they launch
I
it.
personally think just to keep it sane, we should just put a cap at 100, it's a round number, it makes it easy.
Well, and that's what we did our ratios off. of.
Yeah, so why don't we just say we're capping it at 100,
Right,
if in the future,
right. On any given week, we cannot accommodate more than 100 kids,
Right.
because that's what our
Mhm.
ratios are based off of. I wholeheartedly agree with that.
Should we? I guess this is getting ahead of ourselves, so never mind, like put a wait list.
Sure,
Like-
yeah, we could first, I mean,
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because sometimes people will say they're gonna do it, so like, that's what they were talking about too, where they take a deposit. They were taking a deposit like in like April, one town was saying it, I think it might have been Bristol, and then. They're like, it has to be paid by like May 15th,
mhm.
and then would open it up. Like, if it wasn't paid by May 15th, they would lose their, like, their spot,
Mhm.
and then. From there. But it wasn't like you couldn't pay the week like the week before.
I think that's a great idea. I think one of the big
Yeah.
things though, I mean, we probably are putting the cart before the horse with
Yeah.
that, cause
Yeah.
we need a director first, I
Yeah.
mean, quite honestly.
No, we do.
I mean, you know, we threw Bethany hoops together, the commission here,
Yeah.
but I don't think
Yeah,
we're, I don't
no,
think
we
we're throwing a
can't.
whole, I don't
Yeah.
think we're throwing a whole,
Yeah.
you know, just, us here are gonna put together
No.
an
Yeah,
entire,
It's so different, we're not,
Yeah.
we got
Right.
all these staff, all these, like, all these counselors, training counselors, like, we're.
Right.
No, if we don't have a
Yeah.
director.
yeah,
if-
we're not gonna be able to do that,
Yeah.
this group here
Yeah,
putting
I
it
mean, we may not
together.
even have this next, like, if, after, it depends on next week,
Right.
whether or not we even
Yeah.
can have that, because
Have
people are hired, like, have stuff out to hire counselors now.
Mhm.
And go through the whole process, so.
So just for like a point of comparison, Watertown has a very robust summer camp offering, broken down by ages with
Mhm.
different offerings and things like that. They run $156 per week for residents. They do increase, it looks like they increase about $20 more, but they're 8:30 to 3 at 156 a week, or 8:30 to 5:30 at 190 a week.
Mm.
That was 2024 pricing. They haven't come out with 2025 yet. So what did we say? It was 250 a week last
We
year?
said 250, 21.25 if you sign for all 10 weeks, full day.
That is, yeah, again, Woodbridge, the longer you send them, it's.
Right, the cheaper
for
it is.
everybody,
Yeah.
like, we offer that. And then is there like, we cap it at 100, is there a minimum where like? We're not gonna run it if we get less than 50 kids,
Mhm.
you know, cause otherwise you're just losing money there.
Right.
Mhm.
So do we have that minimum?
Well, I think that again, we wait, I think,
Right, I
if
think
we're
we
saying
set a
now, we wait to
price.
see if we have a director, if we set the
Yeah.
price at 250, then we wait, and see, because we may be saying that.
'Cause don't
right,
forget,
not
one
have a
thing with
director
the
and not be able to
minimum,
have camp.
You're also not gonna have the same ratios that you're gonna
Correct,
need
right, we
either.
wouldn't-
So if we have a definitive
Yeah.
date that people have to sign up
Yeah.
by, and let's say it's, okay, we have 50 a
Yeah.
week. Well, we're not gonna hire for 100, so I
Right.
also think, you know, when we talk about expense, we're not gonna have the same expense either if we have.
Mhm.
Cause it's also very, you know,
My
everything
concern
here is
is
very
that-
ratio
yeah.
based, so.
My concern is that, like, I do wonder, we may capping at 100, maybe. Less than what it would be, cause some kids, like, we got 100 for hoops, right? And there's a lot of kids who don't play basketball that might need care. So I don't know, but.
Yeah, I think that
goes,
Leslie
100.
said the limited records that they
Yeah.
have, which is just from last summer.
Yeah.
I wanna say she said the average was about 100.
Mhm.
So I do think that, you know,
Yeah.
if we're able to open it all, this is a little bit
Yeah.
of like a soft
Yeah.
opening, and so we say, this is what we can do
Yeah.
this year, and
Yeah.
it's the best we can do,
Right, once we get into full swing and following year,
right?
we
Potentially we
could
could,
raise the cap.
correct.
Yeah.
But yeah, to not have a cap and kind of do what they did where, you know,
Well, no.
Right.
Come and
No, yeah,
go.
we need like
it's just
need to-
logistically a
Right,
nightmare,
yeah.
which is
It may also be
hence
like-
some of the problems.
preferences given to people who need the whole summer first.
Mhm.
I also think that building can't really accommodate more than 100.
So they,
Yeah, so on like inclement weather days, they often use like the town hall gym
yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Cause they don't stay in there all day.
Yeah.
no.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? Guess we'll wait and see what happens.
So, okay. So all of that being said, where do we wanna set our price for summer?
I would say 250.
Yeah, 250,
yeah.
I'd say keep the
Yeah,
same as
keep it
last year,
250.
and then do a 21.25 if you sign for all 10
Yeah.
weeks.
And then, if, you know,
21,
the
25.
following year. we
Usually
have-
that was last year's.
That was last year's.
So that's, the minimum wage is gone up. It's gone up.
Yeah, but
Well,
that
we
was
did
still,
the-
we did the math, I
yeah,
mean,
we
the
just
math
did the
still,
math,
the math
yeah.
was actually way less than
It was
that, so.
148.29. They,
Yeah, oh, that was really.
so,
Okay,
but that was just salary, so an extra 100 per 100 campers
Yeah.
per week.
So that gave it to them,
Would-
so the 250 is
Let's
with a
get
buffer,
What?
based on what we
Well, I'm
calculated.
just saying, like, on average, it would be like, it's a hard, like,
Yeah,
yeah, I think they did a discount of like 10%, like
It was
10%.
Yeah.
It was,
yeah, I would do that.
But it was more for the third. It was somehow, I don't remember what it was.
Was it
but
25?
was Something like
Yeah.
that.
What's that?
It was. Like the second child was 10%
Oh,
and
the
then the
different
third
kids.
child was. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, maybe we also just say it's a 10% discount. And not, it doesn't increase
Not
with each, right,
complicated.
it's just
Yeah.
10% discount for
Simple
second,
math.
third, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, and then there also used to be a discount for if you were enrolled in before and after care. I feel like for the summer, we just say it's 10% discount if you
Yeah,
enroll
right.
more than one child.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the 250 a week is only covering 9 to 3.
Correct.
Mhm.
What was it?
What was the before and after care?
Before and after care was, okay, so if we did. Sorry, this sheet is like very, very cluttered.
Yeah.
Okay, before
it's horrible
camp,
to fill out.
before camp was 8 AM to 9 AM. If you did a full 10 sessions, it was $150. It was $150 total for all 10 sessions for the extra hour,
Okay.
$40 a week. So if you did, and then $12 a day. So they broke it down that you could actually sign up for before camp, which I don't suggest we do. But they had it where it was $12 a day.
I don't think we
40 a
should allow-
week.
I think it needs to
Yeah.
be by the week.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think by the week
Yeah.
minimum. So there they did $40 a week. And if you signed up for all 10, it was $150. So it was before cure. So you had to tack that on. So you had to kind of do it in piecemeal. You'd have your 21, 25, assuming the whole summer. If you needed before care for the whole summer, it was $150. After care, which allowed you to go up to
That actually kind of works when you look
A
at that,
huge
but
discount.
6.
no, but when you, but when you
$40
do
a
look
week
at,
is 400
but when you look
for the
at-
whole summer, so it was
Right.
150.
what
for
is
the whole
interesting
summer.
though, like in reality though, if we're looking at the numbers, if these are like, if we're saying 250 and we're looking at all these salary numbers,
We
and
weren't,
it's a
we were
hundred.
including the staffing for before and after care. you're saying.
Yeah, so like
Sure.
honestly, like putting 100, like 150 for before is probably,
Let's give it a buffer.
yeah, no, that's, and so that adds in that like,
True.
yes, that adds another 150, but it's not breaking
Right.
like families at the same point in time
Mhm.
either, because you're not
Correct.
really using, the resources you're using are like pretty much just checking in and like, and we already included that in the staffing prices, so yeah.
And then for the 3 to 6, obviously it was 3 hours extra. For 10 sessions was $455. And then they did 70 a week.
I think. I think it's wild that it's only $30 more for the aftercare for 3 hours a day.
Yeah.
I feel like there should be a bigger difference there.
So 15 hours a week, right?
Yeah,
But again, didn't we also factor the aftercare into the original price anyway?
Yeah, we did.
So honestly, I mean,
right, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I don't think we need to like make it exorbitant, but it's the
No,
ratio.
I
just
hear what you're
doesn't
saying, I
make
hear what you're
sense.
saying.
yeah,
Right. It's almost like make the AM one $20 a week, like it's,
Yeah, yeah,
or even 30, I don't,
I hear what you're saying.
yeah, just the ratio is weird.
I think part of it too is you could only signed up for the whole window, so I think very few people really needed till 6.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Most people probably needed till realistically 4:30.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean,
Let me do.
I think that's why it was the way, what's that?
So I rolled up at 5:55.
Yeah, I know, I mean, some people, I mean, I'm sure some people did, but I think a lot of people, when they needed it, they were literally just, I just gotta
Right, you
bridge the
needed a
gap
little bit,
from
right, a little bit
3 to
longer.
4:30, because most people, you
Right.
figure workday's 8 to 4.
Right,
Most people are 9 to 5, so I think that's the other thing, is it's a 3-hour window, so I
Yeah,
personally say
half the
keep it,
kids
try to
would
keep
be
it the
sent
best,
to staff home and then.
yeah.
right, you wouldn't need to maintain as many staff, correct? So. Do we wanna just continue with that pricing, because
I think so, because we
the
already,
250 a week covers,
yeah, I think so,
and so the rest of it's just kind of like a buffer?
yeah.
It would be 250 for the 9 to 3 or. for the
250 is for
extent-
the 9 to 3.
Okay, and.
And
for
then
the
it
8
would
to
be
9?
290 if you did 8 to 3. And it would be 360. If I masked that right.
from 9 to 6.
from 9 to 6, 8 to 6.
8 to 6.
That's-
Really a lot of
that's-
kids around.
And how much?
That's like, that's like what I paid at Surrey when Drew went there as like an infant.
Yeah.
That's a net, what? Well, no, but what I'm saying is like, that's an infant where it's like 1 to 8 ratio, you know what I mean, like,
Right, summer
That's a
camp,
nice-
right, yeah.
that's a nice price, like when you're looking at like holiday. Yeah, I mean, obviously,
Oh,
yeah.
but it's like,
Yeah,
That's the point.
you know.
Right.
yeah, that was the point of a town program
Yeah.
versus,
No, I'm saying that's. It's fair,
you were trying to
I think
keep
it's
it
really
as
fair.
reasonable for people as we
Yeah.
What
can
was
here.
the
Yeah.
full week for the 3 hours?
Full week for 3 hours was $4.55, so if you signed up for all 10 weeks aftercare, you paid $4.55.
And then if you did all 10 weeks of before care.
All 10 weeks of before care was the 150,
150.
so it was 150 total for all 10 weeks.
Okay, and we're saying. You pay by the week, so it's $40 a week if you only need a couple of weeks, or you pay $150 and you get all 10 weeks. And it's
Yes.
$70 a week for aftercare, or you
You're
pay
better just pay
$455 for all 10
Correct.
weeks.
just.
Right,
Correct.
Right.
And
Yeah.
we are not gonna
Yeah.
accept anything less than a week. We're not doing.
No,
day
no,
by day.
I think the
No.
daily
I just
thing
like the
is,
record keeping
You're
for that
reserving the
because
spot.
of disaster, yeah,
You're reserving the spot if you.
and I think it's just,
Doesn't
a-
actually
it's just
go
a
one of the days,
logistical.
fine, But
Right.
you've paid for it.
correct,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I also
We can
think
worry
if we
about-
did the daily, it's just a logistical nightmare, like in the
Yeah, I
past,
think so
too.
they weren't really keeping ratios, so
If-
now that we're so focused on, hey, we have to make sure we keep these ratios.
Yeah. I mean,
You
the
can't
price is,
commit
like,
to just
The price
anything.
is so low, like if I don't set, like, when in the past, I never sent my son on Fridays when he went, because I
Oh,
don't.
250.
And like the late,
No, I don't do
For the
it.
10 sessions.
But you know, like, but
No,
for like
okay.
for 250, like I would have paid it and been like,
Right,
for 5, and been like, he's just not, like,
correct,
he's just not going on Fridays.
yes.
Yeah, that would be.
You know, that's what people can make that decision if they wanna do 4 days. they can
Set myself.
make that decision.
Okay.
I think getting into the day rates, like,
no, I
Alright, so is
agree.
everybody
any other camp's not
comfortable
gonna do it.
with the, for pricing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So we're keeping it matching last year.
Matching last year on
That
pricing
seems-
and then in nothing else.
Right.
I was gonna say budget.
Yes.
In pricing.
Yeah. Okay, and the fact that we're not gonna allow for like the daily rates,
Right.
and we're taking off some of the discounts, the multiple
Right.
discounts.
Yeah. Which is why, like,
Right,
I definitely,
okay,
now it makes sense when people didn't pay why we were in.
Right.
Like the whole, because if there was like been $100 buffer,
right,
you know, in a sense, and people weren't paying.
right. Okay. So we did summer camp, check, all right, I'm gonna ask about lifeguards.
Just one question
Yeah.
for summer camp, for example, what happens if they don't pay?
They don't
Is
get
there,
to
is
go.
there already a,
Well, that's what we were talking about,
Clause
the
in
well, we were
the
talking, like, that's, we
procedure?
were saying, like, we can't really, we're not gonna, that's like a director thing, but like. Some of the places are like, you have to pay in full by a
Yes,
certain
yes.
time,
Yeah,
and if you don't, then you lose the spot,
Correct.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
You know?
that's what happened with hoops too.
yeah, you
Okay,
know?
no,
Yeah, you had to be paid in
Around
full
this
before.
point.
yeah, cause you did that this year with Bethany
Yeah.
Hoops,
Yeah,
right,
and
wasn't
that's
it?
already in the procedure.
I mean, I think before and after care is a different story,
Yeah.
like, that's like the week before we did this year, like Nick had it nicely.
Yeah.
A little anxiety provoking for parents, I think, having to sign up and make sure you got your spot, but,
Right,
but.
but yes, there,
summer
yeah,
camp,
there
I
will
think
have to
different,
be,
it's a bigger,
yeah,
it's a
Paid
bigger
paid in-
expense, yeah.
yeah, paid in full before
Yeah.
it begins. Okay.
If it happens.
And then. I don't think on the first page, like the. I'm just trying to look, so that's just the overview. Okay, so then the
Yeah.
extended day,
That's the bigger shiny for
which is like the before and after care. If that were to ever reopen. They have a before counselor of 1.5 hours a day. So what would that be?
7 to 8:30, yeah.
Yeah, Craig, I did that. 7 AM.
Why?
Before care, we're gonna say that it would open at 7
That makes my life so much easier.
for all the high school teachers.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you
Yeah.
were on summer camp, so.
No,
No,
no, we're
sorry.
on summer camp
Yeah.
from 7 AM for,
Yeah,
Yeah, that would make life so much happier.
Yeah. So she's got 3 before counselors and 1 before head counselor. And then three aftercare counselors. Again, this is where I'm confused. So she's got 3 aftercare counselors for 3 hours a day and then 3 aftercare counselors for 2 hours a day.
Because some people are from till 5 and some people are until.
Would say till 6.
Cause I think less stay till like usually at like between like at 5.
Right, when the ratio
Like,
dips.
yeah.
Okay, so a total of 6 aftercare counselors. Which would allow us to accept what, 90 kids? And then head counselors as well.
Should we have a conversation with the school about this, like how the CARES program is going, like if they're interested in continuing it? Because we like that program, it's already there, you don't have to walk up there, you don't have to get staffing in for
Right.
2 hours.
But they'll only be, they'll open at 7:30 and then there are some kids that don't like school. That it actually is difficult for them to start their day. So,
I think this is just budgeting, right? This isn't a definitive
Yeah.
that we would open. I don't know.
Yeah, I know, I'm just be going forward, like.
I think if and when we hire a director, then we can start exploring conversations with the school about whether or not they are even able to continue it. I mean, they
Yeah,
have
that's like
time,
certified,
going.
yeah, I was gonna say certified teachers
Yeah.
and what
but
that
maybe.
that
I
costs.
mean,
There might
I
be
think we
cost
should budget
differential, too.
for it, even if we don't ever end up opening it, then it doesn't cost it any money.
Right.
There also
So there's
becomes,
like
well,
12
but
kids.
remember, there also becomes the fact too of. Is if you have it before and after. Vacation, like you don't have vacations and like, and like
Mhm.
sometimes they did snow days,
Right.
like, or snow delays or whatever. Then you lose that over there, and then when there's PD days, right, that's not open, so if we're opening for that, like, that's a whole nother subject to talk about.
Mhm.
If we're charging for that, like they were doing, for like. April break and.
No, so is that,
Which I think
is that what we did in the past?
Yeah,
Oh, I
it
didn't
was
realize
huge.
that.
Actually, the delay thing was great. Like
Yes.
it was wonderful. And then like, and then on days that were like the PD days and stuff like that was nice. Or like when we had, when they had staff development for the half days coming over too.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, we could budget for it. And then if people want, if the school wants to keep doing that piece.
Right, and it gives time to have those
Yeah.
conversations,
Mhm.
and then if they can't run it again next
Yeah.
year, at least we have,
Yeah.
There we go,
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're comfortable with all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then I think the extended day piece is fine. We did summer camp, we talked about lifeguards.
Did she want us to imagine what we charge for that too?
Well, wait, like the lifeguards would be
Oh,
under
for
us
the
for
extended day.
budgeting but for budgeting purposes, but not for summer camp
Not
or
for summer
extended
camp,
day
this is-
because
I will ask,
Parks and
yeah,
Rec,
double check.
Parks and Rec piece, right? Yeah, and then
Well, but
maintenance. of
now
the
with the
other-
new, it's being broken
Yeah.
into only 4 sections, so it would have, the staffing for every program goes in every program, so
Right.
what program are like?
Yeah, like what,
considered
yeah,
part of,
yeah.
right?
But I don't know if
And
they're
how many
considered
hours
part of
they
any
need.
program
Yeah, I
because
don't
they
think
are,
so.
they're
Yeah.
there at the beach even on days.
So is there
Oh,
was a
like, where
line
does that
item for
fall?
staffing
Yeah.
just for Parks and Rec, like for administration? They
They-
go in the
so
administration section
They're,
of the budget?
they're on their own tab called lifeguards.
Mm.
So I don't know, I have a note to ask.
But is there like a ratio where all of a sudden they're used to having like 3 people, and all of a sudden there's,
For
70
lifeguards?
kids there?
It says tier 1, tier 2 and ahead. I don't know
Yeah.
what that means. And each one's 1.
Right, and then it's like quantity 440, 830. I literally have no idea. We didn't talk about lifeguards at the meeting in
Quantity.
January.
Yeah.
Quantity must be hours.
Hours, they have to be,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
but I'm
And then you
not,
have your hourly rate, 17, 18, and 20.
right,
Okay, yeah, so tier 1 is they're paid 17 an hour, tier
Right.
2, they're paid 18. And then the head one, right, head is 20,
right,
which is logical, and that's your total hours.
right. But I think we need to find out, just like, is there any expectation that summer camp covers the cost of some of those lifeguards?
Yeah, that's only 1 day,
Right,
so 10 days.
correct, of the whole summer, right, but yet the lifeguards cost $30,000, so. Um. Yeah, it is a lot. Okay, so. So the before and after care. Total budget is 138.5, let's call it.
Is a nurse necessary for the before and after program?
No,
There has not ever been one, no.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, and again, I think we would just make it clear to families that
you're saying by 90.
that's, I think, what our staffing ratio works out to, right? Cause we have 4 in the morning. I mean, the morning was less kids, they said too. And then the afternoon, 3, 6, 9.
Mhm.
So, right, does that work out to 90?
With a 2 to 15 ratio. Yeah, I'm not good at this.
I don't know, not even sure.
2 to
I'm good at the
15
value, I'm not sure.
with 9, that's not numbered. So it's 60.
What's the question?
9 times 15.
If 9 counselors are there and you have a 2 to 15
What's
ratio.
7
how
and
many
nine?
kids can we
Right,
have
7.5
there?
times 9.
What was it last year? Like,
Right.
or
63.
not, like this, when they started, when they
67,
started
50.
back up, Nick and Jen like ran a bunch of numbers, like, right, 'cause I was in it then. I'm trying to. What was?
It's less, it's like 60 to 70.
Yeah.
Like about 60, but because just the 80 counselors is 60.
Right.
So if we plotted off of 60 kids.
And the one is sort of 7.5.
Mhm.
For Mount Counselor.
I think it's like, how many weeks does it run?
See if I can see it in this. Yeah, I booked that.
Figure
in
4
Sunday.
weeks in a month, 10 school months.
Well, 40 is generous for a school year, but also. But then if we're doing vacation days, that's. full
She does,
days,
right,
like
she
this
does
isn't-
have that in here.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, vacation weeks and half days.
But you've gotta charge a lot differently for those.
Right,
I was
Yep.
trying to look and see if I could find out if I missed what Nick and Jen had created on the numbers for what they were charging when the year started. I don't know, if, like my record's still.
actually, on here it says vacation weekday half days. Oh, it
Yeah.
says 0 then.
'Cause that was so nice.
it also only has 6.5 hours. Which. Didn't they run 7 to 6? On vacation days?
No, it was never 7.
No, or 7, what was it,
It
8
was-
to 6?
7:30.
You're talking about rec room?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I just found what Nick Fatone sent out. My kids didn't do rec room, but
here
you
it
must have
is.
sent it to everybody who did.
Here it is. It was,
7:30 to 8:30 and 3:10 to 6 o'clock.
so what did it cost is what I'm. And then, weekly vacation days were 8:30 to 3,
but there was,
and it was 130 a week.
but wasn't there an
Oh, wow.
option for, right, for before?
Yeah, no, so that was, I'm doing, that was the vacation weeks was 130 a week is what they were.
Right, but what were the hours?
8:30 to 3, is that what you
They have
said?
That here,
Well-
like here my rec,
Yeah,
like so 12:20, like it was 8:30 to 3 was your option.
but I think you could add I think you could add the hour.
Maybe it's on here, so I don't know. But hold on, let's see, but the 7:30 to 8:30
Cause the Y and Avon is.
was $20 a week
This says
before.
vacation non-school days, 7:30 to 6 p.m.
Yeah,
Wow,
Yeah, it's a full day, and these two
Mhm.
programs here.
So
Treehouse
the
and
weekly
Y are the same
after
hours.
was $60 a week. For the full week. 3 days a week was 36 a week, 4 days a week was 48 per week, so that was what the after was, and that was 3 to 6:10, there was no like stop at 5 or whatever, so that's what. the after was. Or it was $20 per week.
And both programs charge approximately $75 additional for the non-school days.
Mhm. Yeah,
And what
JCC is
the normal
85.
cost For that whole day, so,
Right.
which isn't bad.
Mm-mm. Okay, so if we take out the vacation days and the half days. Cause I do think we need to figure those separately. We're looking at 118,000. For just the typical school day before and after. So,
We're saying, based on time, what do we think is 118,000
55,
divided by 65
Right.
kids
let's say 65.
for the year, like for the. 118 divided by 65 is $1,815, but what are we, how many weeks is that?
Don't know, it's 10 months.
Yes, it's a great question.
All right,
Great question.
vacations, you know,
Anyone have a school calendar?
wait, if you did, are we talking about? Before and after, we're putting that both in together, so 65, just, I'm like,
Mhm.
in my head, I'm gonna.
I'm just trying to figure, extended day is that, it's
Yeah, so
before
60
and after,
times-
correct?
60 times
For
65,
budgeting purposes.
So it
yes.
used to be,
$3,900
yeah,
a
We're
week.
allowing parents to
Right.
sign up for just.
it used to be, yes,
26.
this past school year for the limited time that they opened was the first time they broke it out. You
Gotcha.
paid for before, you paid for after.
Yeah.
Or one or the other.
Right.
So you-
Prior to that, it was like you paid and you could drop your kids off any morning you wanted,
Yeah.
you didn't have to tell anybody.
Let's see how many weeks. in.
So 60
Yeah, how many
times
weeks, how
65,
many half days of
if you
like
have
half days,
60
vacation
after school,
weeks, and then
65,
maybe
with
full
65
school days.
kids going, that's $3,900 a week.
And that way you get, you know, what I mean, a feel of how each one should be broken up, how many hours. I mean,
65 seems like a lot.
Yeah.
I think that's too many, I think that's maybe 50 is more realistic, maybe I'm wrong.
Go.
On a
There you go.
consistent
Flat
basis.
school calendar.
Yeah, it's perfect right here. Show you the full days, the half days, and vacation day weeks.
So,
Could you guys count up
180 days.
how many half days and how many vacation days?
Yeah.
That they're not open all vacation days, so like they're not open on national
National
holidays. So like they wouldn't have opened Martin Luther King, President's
Like
Day.
PE and,
Mhm.
yeah. or
Right.
welfare conferences, all that stuff, yeah.
That would be good.
So you don't count about holidays?
So they're closed on like federal
Right.
holidays,
Yeah.
so
Okay,
4th of July, they don't open,
we don't account for that, right?
no, cause
Okay.
they don't offer
Okay,
camp on those day, or whatever we call it, extended day on
Yeah,
those
yeah.
days.
so only when school's in session.
So when school is in session, but they do open,
I got personal days, like you heard about, staff days, the
yeah, staff
Staff
PE
days.
days, they open.
Okay,
They would also be open, like this year, BCS is off for the entire week in February. So they wouldn't open the Monday of President's Day, but they would have traditionally opened the other 4 days that week.
okay.
Yeah, yeah,
There's some logic to it. Not everybody does, but a lot of people
right, don't have that
are gonna
time.
have the federal holidays off
Yeah.
anyway.
Listen, I think,
dismissals end days.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
separately.
Separate.
yeah.
So like
because
how many
extended
half days early dismissal
7.5
days?
days.
7.5 early dismissals?
7.5
Seven.
days.
Seven.
Seven and a half
Oh,
days.
7, I'm sorry, 7. Half.
Fully
7.5
dismissal,
days.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a very short day.
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Twenty-seven no school or holiday vacation days,
7 vacation.
Like
days.
holidays, like they wouldn't be open?
like New Year's.
Yep, so they
Yeah,
wouldn't be open.
Is that the current year's calendar?
But also like.
Necessarily won't have days.
Yeah, the 24,
Yeah,
25.
this current year.
Yeah, this year we have it, next year we
Well,
don't have
shouldn't
it.
we look at the 25 to 26?
I don't know if it's.
I don't think it's out. They normally put it out. like,
Well, they approved it,
So
they,
dead over there.
they approved it, right? Did you guys approve it? It's out, right?
It's
Yeah.
approved and out.
Oh, it
Yeah,
is.
cause I know Amity just approved theirs, so,
It doesn't have the full February.
yeah,
It is different enough.
yeah.
That's great.
That is good.
No, this is.
I don't know why that happened this year.
Maybe else. See if it was a little bit of a surprise.
He's
to
got
me.
it, he's got it, okay.
Orange didn't wanna have it, February gets break, so I wouldn't have it.
Oh, so it looks different. I did see
It does.
that one.
Okay.
When I just Googled.
Let's
it.
go back to the early dismissal.
Okay, you guys, if you guys could count those,
Okay.
okay. For purposes of the fact that it's 8 o'clock and I wanna not keep you here for the rest of your lives. As far as programs go, like special programs that we might want to open. Again, none of this is like set in stone. It's all subject to change.
I would almost say not adding any right now, and if the director wants to, we kinda do what we do with
We
hoops
have
and make
to
it
put-
self-sustaining though.
Correct, but they just want
Oh,
revenue ideas,
revenue, oh,
revenue ideas.
Zumba. Dance class. What did I see? North Haven had so much stuff. They had,
Yeah,
like, they had the baking cupcake classes, then they had
Nothing for
like
adults.
gaga ball, they were, like, no, there was nothing, so like,
correct.
somebody talked about pickleball.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I was looking at a lot of what like North Haven did, and they hadn't really.
Yeah.
in
So I
Wallingford.
looked up, like, I mean, I looked at a bunch of different towns,
Yeah.
but like,
No, not
the typical ones were like some sort of art class, whether it
Mhm.
was painting or drawing or pottery or.
Yeah.
A lot of towns are running chess programs. I know. The principal recently sent out that there are kids at BCS that are asking about starting a chess club. So I think that that would probably be an interesting one to open. That could
When my
also be
son
for
was
children
younger, high
and
school- I mean, when
adults.
my
So a
son was
concept
younger,
I
his
think would
elementary
be-
school did it.
Really interesting and might just kind of get us some good press too. I think coding.
Yeah,
I
that's what it
think
was,
a
the next
coding-
one I have.
I think a coding program
Yep.
would be really good.
Yeah, Orange has one.
'Cause you're
It's
not
an hour a week
to
for
any
6
kind of-
weeks and it's.
I'm not
$90.
partial to computer stuff at all.
But it is, I was gonna
No,
say, it's an
a
hour
good
a
thing. The
week.
Kids like, I mean, kids
Yeah.
and adults like that.
Correct. Yeah, Oranges is an hour a week for 6 weeks for $90.
Okay,
Cooking was a really popular one again for
Baking one.
kids and adults.
Well, we did the baking after school,
Adult, yeah.
that was like,
Almost
Introduction to
always-
line dancing.
Yeah, almost always sold out.
it always sold
It
out.
was, yeah.
Their baking class.
Esports was another one that was like video gaming.
never heard that. Esports, they're calling
Esports.
it?
It's actually a
they
big
call
deal,
it,
like
yeah.
you can get like.
Really?
that-
So why are we calling it a sport? It's a video
It's
game.
a,
Just
it's a
curious.
sport that actually they go to like states in it, because my
Wow.
son like was in it for states
You have
at one
numbers?
point.
How many
Yeah,
half days?
crazy.
I always count that as like an anti-sport, but. okay.
Yeah,
Half
right.
days
No,
next
I,
year.
Okay.
5
11,
vacation days.
5.
Fine.
And by vacation days, we're talking about not,
April break.
okay.
Yes.
What about, the week between Christmas and New Year's, December break, cause they were open then too.
They were?
Yep,
Really?
mhm,
yep.
yeah.
Counting what days?
Yeah.
Not Christmas,
Not Christmas, not Christmas.
not Christmas, yeah, I swear to God.
Not
Not
New Year's
Christmas
Day.
Eve, not Christmas Day, not New Year's Eve, not New Year's Day.
So the 24th.
Well, they had,
Wait, New Year's Eve might have been.
there's an adult
New Year's
now.
Eve.
Yeah, it's not.
Really?
4 more days.
Like,
Where?
adult-
I
in North
mean,
Haven.
I just missed my
No.
adult
9
basketball in
people.
Orange tonight.
I'm just saying, they
Oh.
do, they have it,
PD?
couldn't they
Yeah,
use like.
2.
Two.
They got it in Orange.
Here?
that's why.
Is Black Friday part of that?
I
don't
No,
know.
no, they weren't.
No, I think that they closed, cause that should be a holiday. Um,
Like she has my vote.
Yeah, I mean, that was it.
Or
Yes, I believe they were
I
open.
think they were
Yeah,
open, yeah.
before.
Yeah,
So 10 vacation days then,
Rosh Hashanah.
Yep.
11.
and that could, and sometimes those fall on a weekday.
Right.
They don't-
Okay. Okay, so then also Lego,
But the school does that.
they don't do it anymore.
They're not?
Oh, they did?
PTO hasn't done it now,
Okay.
because they didn't have enough parent volunteers.
Wasn't there like Pokemon too? Didn't they do something like that?
I don't know, and then science was another big one, like science clubs. And then there are often towns that do like sports, they'll do
I was
karate.
gonna say karate.
But we have a karate studio in town. so I
Gaga
feel
ball
like,
is a big
Yeah.
deal.
yeah,
Well,
Yeah.
speaking of that, I asked Jen to link, I don't know if it's show the email. basketball, baseball, and we.
Yeah, they're on there.
lacrosse, and yeah, they put that on the.
But so like, I don't think
That's
outside
like
of,
Stuff we're gonna offer, you know.
right, I don't think outside of hoops, it makes sense for us to do like sports.
Right.
Like some towns run a soccer program, but like there's,
I feel about that,
right, there's
yeah.
one, there's like the Bethany one over at Peace Park.
Or if we could get an inflatable Gaga ball court,
So
like that
PTO
after
is-
school is a big thing
Right,
for the
but
kid,
PTO
like
is
for kids to do too.
purchasing.
What is it?
PTO is purchasing
Gaga
a
ball.
I've
Gaga.
never
Oh,
heard
they
of it.
are?
Yeah.
Like.
Where's it gonna be?
I don't
Yeah,
know,
that's
it's
there.
like- It's like.
I got
kind of
Google.
Yeah, I
octagonal
mean, it
shape
makes you
and
wanna-
like-
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
like it's a big
Okay.
deal at like all the camps and they play.
Really?
And like,
Yeah, they're upset.
Never heard of it.
yeah.
So we could look at some other sports things, like Gaga ball. Some places will do
What about
like
crafts,
playground games.
What about certain
things like
crafts for
that.
certain, like
Okay.
like even for like what if like,
No,
this is, I know this is like random, but like what about getting somebody to come in and do like a painting or a ceramic class or something
Yeah.
for adults, you know?
yeah, so there were art.
Like an
ones.
adult,
All those
but like
things.
for adult, like for, you know, it's included with adults, if we're just throwing out random ideas.
Right.
The millions of emails we get about the concerts and all that.
Yeah,
That would be
like,
cool.
I don't think I think
Okay.
unless we had a director.
Yeah.
So you said these are just like, these are.
Correct, but like,
suggested- No.
there's also a limit honestly to how many more hours I'm gonna spend researching this, so like.
Correct,
Oh, no, I
yeah.
thought we were just throwing stuff in there right
No,
now.
but
Oh.
we have to put prices on all
Oh,
these
no,
things
thank
for
you.
revenue.
Yeah, no.
So like,
Yeah.
I think a summer concert series would be
So,
fantastic.
explain that, so.
So what
if these are
they're,
self-sustaining,
yeah,
then what,
Okay,
like,
so then that.
so we would basically just have to figure out
I
like,
mean,
so like if we were gonna run a chess club, we would just have to say like, how many people would we accept? What would the fee be per participant?
right, that all gets paid out like with Bethany Hoops. Like, we don't have to put in a price there because it's pays for itself.
The only thing you would
Right,
have.
but they
to
wanna
is
know
you-
about potential income
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
that would offset
Gotcha.
some of the other.
Oh, that's what they always ask, I'm like, what did they say? Who was it, Madison sent an email, like they had 20% on to whatever,
Yes,
gotcha, okay.
correct. Yeah, we just got that one today from
Mhm.
Madison, which like that'll be interesting data to see.
Mhm.
So for purposes of finishing the budget. And again, the revenue piece is not something that has to be like set in stone. Those are things that according to Leslie, like we just need some ideas in there. Is everybody okay? Like, those were the ones that I got pricing on from a couple of different places. With just kind of putting those in there
Yeah.
with pricing placeholders. Okay,
Sounds good to me.
beautiful. Then we'll finish that
And
up.
when you're ready, we have the final numbers.
Okay, go for it.
Early dismissal, 12,
Okay,
vacation, 11.
Yep.
And PD 2.
beautiful. Okay. So we need to figure out how to set pricing for before and after conclusion. So it hurts my brain.
I feel like we should be looking at, almost as like 50 kids. I feel like 65 is a lot.
I mean, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, 50 for the.
I mean, definitely in the before care, that's usually lower, that's like 30, right? Like, wouldn't you say like 35? Or like,
Well,
I mean, 'cause how many, I mean.
We have 4 before school counselors in the budget, so
I mean, better to keep that for, but,
that's 60.
and we're
Right,
adding.
so
an
let's
extra half
say,
hour to
let's say
eventually do it.
40 in the morning. I can't even imagine there's that many that would go.
Yeah,
So if we have 40 kids in the morning. The cost for the morning is
it was 20 before last year.
23.59 plus 29.25.
$20?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Plus
Yeah.
I had money.
92.34 plus.
No, I think it was only 20, that's what I had, it was only 20.
Kids.
No, before, like, it was 60 for after and.
Oh, you are
$20 a week,
Yeah,
$20 a week.
that's what it, that's.
That's what it was.
Too low.
So for the year, the before care costs $23,190
Uh-huh.
for 181 student school days. For 194 days approximately. So that's the 181 student school days, the 11 vacation days, and the 2 PD days that it would be open.
So you're trying to find a cost that for people who need all of it
And then we could break it down by week.
and by vacation days, right? Because there are going to be working families who have a different solution for aftercare.
Right,
but-
yeah,
but
this
need
is
the
just
vacation
mornings,
daycare.
yeah, just mornings.
This is just,
Oh,
this number,
Yeah.
23,100.
but you're adding the vacation.
Because if you were gonna sign up for the vacation days, you would have to sign up for 7:30 to 8:30.
So it's a full day, basically, so you
Right.
would take your full day. For regular. And add, I mean, here, Treehouse adds $50 per day.
Right. What are you thinking?
Yeah, so.
I was just thinking, again, not, this is also theoretical that
I
it
know.
How
doesn't,
many days are we
but
talking?
my thought was to make it completely separate, that if you do aftercare,
Yeah.
you're talking about aftercare for the school year and school
So just
days.
the 181
and then parents who
days.
need
Yeah,
I can work with
Vacation
that.
Yeah.
days, then. we
cause I feel like
determine-
that's how, yeah.
Yeah, so. So just plan it for the 181 student school days,
Mhm,
not the 2 PD days, not the 11 vacation days.
right,
Okay,
cause that. would
Yeah,
be
but
a
there's not
different
100,
charge.
there's 180 school days, right?
181 student school days.
Yeah. Oh, cause this is before care, okay, so wait.
82.
So our kids are going for an extra,
So then they can forgive, if we can skip a day if we need to, if there's no, we have like
Got
a
it.
little bit of flexibility.
okay,
182,
Even if there's no.
23, so 23,100 was just before care expenses, right?
23,190, yeah.
That's like, so let me make it 23,200 divided by. We're saying 40 kids, right? We're divided by 182 days. That's 127.62, now divide that number by 40. That can't be right,
No, that's what I got too.
$3.18. Wait, that's 318 cents a day, right? No, right,
$3.18, yeah.
3 times 5. Yeah, so $20 a week was not
Not terrible.
was not terrible.
Assuming that we get 40 kids, but then we also wouldn't necessarily need that many.
Same thing, you'd have the staffing if it's less.
Yeah,
So.
But you can in the morning, you
Yeah.
can't. Well, I
Well,
guess you're talking
you're
about free
signing-
registration.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Right, because there's 4
Yeah.
counselors in the morning.
yeah,
We had said that we would always maintain 3, right? So like 2 before school counselors and 1 head counselor. So we would need a minimum of 30 kids in the morning,
mhm,
because we wanted there to always be 1 additional counselor, so that
Yeah.
if like, you know, if it's Dave and I working and Jamie has to go to the bathroom, one
Or
of
the-
us isn't left alone.
yeah,
And if
or the director flexes too.
with
comes
free
in there.
registration, if it's
Right.
less than that, we could say just a head teacher, a head counselor and the counselor. If we have less than,
Yeah, but then we only have 2 staff. So I think we have to be careful that we cover that
Mhm.
extra human.
Even if you say $25, like,
25,
like,
okay.
Yeah,
make it fair,
yeah.
very, you know,
So we're saying
The extra
before
$5 to have that
Yeah.
extra coverage
Yeah.
of one person.
7
Yeah.
to 8:30
yeah,
is $25
Yeah.
a week.
yeah.
I really don't
And
think
that's what it
anybody.
is, whether you use it 3 times a
Yeah.
week, you use it,
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that we should get into the.
no.
No,
least not
the
right
daily
now.
thing.
Not
Listen, I
for-
mean, like,
not
there's
for-
times I
for
would
this
pick
point.
Drew up like aftercare at like 3:30, like
Mhm.
3:40, they'd be walking in and I would, you know, I'd still pay for it, like, you know.
Okay,
The
so
yeah.
$25 in addition to the normal fee? Or it's $25 for a week?
$25 for a week
Week.
for the morning, just the morning.
just the morning, 7
Just
to
the morning.
8:30,
Wow.
yeah,
But it's not,
Is it?
now
But
when
it
you do
covers
that,
the
like,
price.
it covers the price of it.
yeah.
Because really, in reality, you're not doing you're not supposed to be doing a for-profit,
Yeah, right.
you know?
It's not a business.
It's not, yeah, it's not a business, it's not for-profit.
town.
When we think about it like that, it will bring,
Yeah, cause you have supplies and.
yeah, so it's technically $3.18, based on like
Yeah.
the salaries there, $3.18 a day, so it's like actually $15.90 a week. But that gives like another $9-10 per kid.
Mhm.
And honestly, like,
For
at that point,
supplies and
and at
things
that
like
point,
that.
you might have kids that are actually walking in at like 8,
Yeah.
8:10 to get dropped off too, like. So, and you're not doing much in the mornings, you're not
No.
getting a snack or eat, you know.
Yeah.
Okay,
you know.
so
It doesn't have to be
aftercare,
elaborate
No,
either.
no.
It's just,
They're just
It's
sitting there
daycare.
waiting, yeah, yeah.
right,
And then-
especially in the morning, I mean,
So
it's a
then we're
short
looking at
time.
after would
So
be.
aftercare, so aftercare is $94,887.
880, okay, 94.80.
Okay, and then we said we have 369. 9 counselors, so what did we say, 60 kids?
Well, we
Would
said
think
60, but then if it's.
Should we say
8
50? Should we
counselors-
budget on 50?
Well, how many kids is that, 369? How many kids is that? 9 counselors,
If we're saying
That's about
2 to 15,
67, so let's go,
68 kids.
let's go 60.
Get this out.
did we think we had 60 kids?
I think that they said sometimes yes,
But if there's that many, you do want an extra one for as a floater.
right,
Mhm.
correct.
That's why we put
Yeah.
9 in
Well, in
there.
theory, you also have
I think so
your
too.
directors there at that, at least from 3 to
Maybe,
4 or
yeah.
5, you know. Or if you have,
Okay,
so.
so 94,887 divided by 182 days.
Divided by 182 is, okay,
521 divided by 60 kids.
868 a day.
Right.
Times 5, $44.
And what was it last year?
It was 60. So 60 may make sense because that's basing it on 60 kids, so if you have 50
Yeah.
or less. Or you do it, or you make it
So
50.
$12 a day, so somebody wants your kid for 3 hours, seems pretty reasonable.
Yeah, very reasonable.
I think we talked about this last.
Yeah, I mean, it is, yeah.
Yeah.
So so last year it was 60,
Yeah,
so we want to keep it at 60 a week.
Yeah, probably keep it to
For
what we
aftercare.
had. And that gives us a buffer.
Okay. Half days, there are 12. It's 1:30 to 6.
I wonder if after school, we're gonna have to get into something with people who maybe need it 4 days a week or something like that,
Yeah,
because
there's
sometimes kids go to like.
Yeah, I think-
activities or I think for after that, like, if there's, the director can do that part.
Right,
There's enough
correct.
time for that.
Yeah, but I mean,
Like,
right now,
like,
let's just
yeah.
assume they have to pay
Yeah.
for the week and,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
if we could get to that, it's a
Yeah.
luxury that'd
Yeah.
be great, you know, if we could do
Right,
it.
yeah.
Cause I mean, we wanna make it as accommodating as we can, but on the flip,
Mhm.
right.
we
Or
wanna
like
have
you
our
pay for the week and you
buffers.
only send your kid 4 days. Yeah,
Mm.
okay, so for half days, what? I'm assuming we're gonna add an increased cost for the half days. So separate enrollment for half days.
Times 12.
It's really the addition of 2 hours. Because you're already paying for 3:30 to 6,
What we're saying, 868.
if you pay for
after.
full weeks.
Oh, right, because those extended days are included. I mean, those half
Mhm.
days are included in
Right,
the
so like
morning, too.
JCC, for point of comparison, it's $20 extra for the half days,
Mhm.
for the 1:30
So we have to
to.
set a price for people who already signed their kids up for full year aftercare. What do they pay additionally on those days?
On those half
And we
days.
have to set a price for people who don't do that and just use the extended day on half days, like the vacation days.
Yes, if we have room.
Mhm.
If we have
Yeah.
room.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So. 2 extra hours, basically, that you have to
so if the
pay.
JCC is doing 20, then,
Why don't we just mirror it?
yeah,
You know, again, for simple math
Yeah.
here, cause again,
Yeah,
you know what? We just gotta get a budget in.
okay, so then what about vacation days? The days that would be full days, 7:30 to 6. JCC is $85 a day. I do think that that's high.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's real high.
Yeah.
I think they were doing 130
130 or how much?
per week. Was
In
what
the
they-
past, we were doing,
Like for vacation,
Here?
But if,
yeah,
Oh.
that's what.
which
it was.
is less than $30 a day.
yeah,
Yeah, how does that work? 85, but the phone after.
Why can't you just take what you're paying basically for full service, you know, the AM and PM program and divide that?
That's like 130 is not far off from saying that because if
Mhm.
it's 60 and 70, if it's 60 for 3:10
Right.
until 6, say somebody needed it like that, and then it's 25 for 7 to 8:30, then in reality. You put in 130 is not a bad, 130 kind of is,
or you know what, we can, here,
Fill it out by day.
well, here's the other thing that makes kind of sense. At some point, some people are, you know, they're gonna have to change their schedule at work a little bit, you know what I mean? So this is already a lot better than what people have been dealing
oh,
with.
please, my life has been horrible.
A lot of people have
God,
been,
no.
you know, having
You see people
horrific.
have pickup all the time, you're like, people are scrambling.
So I just feel like a lot of people will be just happy, you know, so even if we say, hey, on those days, you know, the weeks. And it only goes till 3 or 4 o'clock, it's still better than, you know, burning the whole day, you could take a couple hours. And, you know, it just makes logistics here a lot simpler. I think we might wanna do it that way versus, oh, who needs it till 6, who needs it till 4, just say, on those weeks, we cover it. What did we say, 7:30 to 3:30, you know, it still got better than, oh, I gotta take the entire week off from work. That's just the way I look at it.
Well, maybe when the director comes in, the director can decide that, and we can just say on an estimate what the price would be,
Mhm.
you know, and then they can, like, and then they can kind of figure out.
But for this
What makes
budget,
more sense,
should we
yeah,
just, why don't we just throw it
Yeah.
in as 130 a week?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
130 a
and
week.
then
And what about
that-
single days?
if that is a change or adjust.
Why
$30 a day.
30 a
Like
day,
a normal
yeah.
8 to 6, like an extended morning and extended PM. Why
Well,
aren't
cause
we
you
doing
have the
it?
middle of the day, so
Right.
on the 8 and then the 1 to 6, we were never covering the entire day. Do you know what I mean? Cause they were
Yeah.
in school.
But I think the whole purpose
That's
of
what-
offering vacation days is for working parents and it's useless if you're doing partial
Exactly.
days.
So,
Not useless, lots of parents will be able to do something
Right.
with that, but lots of them won't. So
Yeah,
if the
it's
goal
hard
is.
now.
Yeah, like one day out of the
People
week,
work.
they can't necessarily say like. Use
"Well, I'm
vacation
gonna
time,
leave at
like,
3 o'clock.
yeah, like the other day,
Half
my
work or
husband had to
something,
use
so-
vacation time to get out a half hour early to come pick her up because I had a meeting.
And that's unfair.
Yeah.
So what if we
Yeah,
just
so
say
he's-
$30 a
Exactly.
day
They're
for
pretty-
vacation
yeah.
days, full
Yeah.
vacation
Yeah.
days?
Yeah.
Yeah,
full
Yeah.
then a full
$30 a
week
day.
would be 150.
What's that?
$30 a day for vacation days, which would make
Which
the
is
full
more,
week
I think it's more
150.
than reasonable too.
Yeah, if we go
Yeah,
150, I
I
mean, that's
need kind of
reasonable.
care for that.
No, you're not.
I was trying to do nanny prices in my head, like, and I was like,
Right, okay.
And that's for a full day, correct? Or just, okay,
Mhm.
which I think is good.
Okay, so I'll share those numbers with Leslie. I'll put in the special
Mhm.
program, some ideas
Yeah.
and pricing. And then I think we're done with budget, yeah,
I think so.
right?
Okay.
Okay,
Someone move.
it was a really good time.
So
My
do
agenda is-
we need to make a motion for those very rough numbers to go to finance for?
Sure.
Yeah,
Who wants to make a motion for those numbers to go to finance?
I'll make-
Sorry, so the other ones, should we put numbers on those? The pickleball,
I have it in my research.
Yeah, we'll just go with that.
yeah, sure.
I make a motion, we send it to finance.
Yeah, I second that.
Super.
Well, we all in agreement? Yeah.
Any discussion?
No.
Which was already had. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there?
Motion carries
Okay.
unanimously.
Okay.
Okay. Can I get a motion to go into executive session for discussion and possible action on the director posting, applicants, and interview process?
So moved.
May I have a second? Discussion? All in favor?
I,
Oh, man.
Yeah, no, of course. And make a motion, yeah, so we go back.
People in there.
For the executive.
Good. Okay, so may I have a motion to end executive session?
Motion to end.
May I- Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Beautiful. Okay, so 9:08, we're back in regular session.
I guess we could unmute.
Yeah, we're off.
yeah,
mute.
we're unmuted.
Yeah, they're muted. Okay, may I have a motion to bring the selected candidates forward for interviews pending the outcome of the January 29th town meeting?
Make a motion.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. May I have another motion to approve the first round interview questions for the potential director interviews?
Move.
Second,
Second.
discussion,
Those are the 9, correct?
the 9 questions, yeah. Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. And then last, may I have a motion to recommend to the Board of Selectmen that they have the HR admin craft a job description for the Park and Rec director to be ultimately reviewed by the commission before being taken to the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen for ultimate approval, ideally by February 15th.
So.
May I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So move.
Okay. May I have a second?
Second.
Beautiful. Motion adjourned.
Only the time for.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.